All right, we're going to continue with notes 2, and now we're at dividing whole numbers. Some of the vocabulary that you should be familiar with is dividend is the number you're dividing into, and the divisor is the number you're dividing by. The result is called a quotient. When the dividend is not completely divided by the divisor, the leftover value is called a remainder. And it has been a little while since we've done long division, and as we get to it, but you've got this, okay? Some of the properties of division is when you divide any number by itself, you're going to end up with the number 1. The quotient of any number and 1 is the same as the number, so dividing any number by 1, you still get that number back. Dividing 0 by any number will equal 0, but dividing 0 into any number is called undefined. A neat little trick that I like to use is this. If the 0 is underneath, it's undefined. If the 0 is underneath, it's undefined. Does the commutative property work for division? Well, let's see. 6 divided by 3 is 2, and 3 divided by 6 is 0.5 or 1/2. And again, we don't have to know that right now. We'll get to that. But definitely no, they're not equal. And neither is the associative property. 12 divided, okay, we're going to do the part in the parentheses first. 6 divided by 2 is 3, and 12 divided by 3 will be 4. 12 divided by 6 is 2, and 2 divided by 2 is 1. Definitely not equal. So the commutative property and the associative property do not work for division. So let's continue now. Again, if you struggle with dividing numbers, practice your times tables. Those times tables are what make math hard for anybody. If you have those down, it really does make your life a little easier. So brush up on those times tables. And so we'll go through these pretty quickly. And again, I have been doing this for many years, so take it easy on yourself. Practice on the times tables and these come back. 42 divided by 7 is 6. Why? Well, multiplication and division are inverse functions of each other. So I can actually check this by saying 6 times 7 is 42. So when I'm looking at how many times does 42 divide by 7, I get 6. Let's see if you can guess this one. 64 divided by 8. What number multiplied by 8 would give us 64? 8. So it can break it up into 8 pieces of 8. 13 divided by 1, there's one of our properties. 13 divided by 1 is the number itself. 5 divided by 5, a number divided by itself is 1. There's another one of our definitions. 11 divided by 0. Let's see if the 0 is underneath. Division can be written this way or this way. So if you have 11 divided by 0, it's the same thing as 11 over 0. Now that's not an answer, and that will be counted wrong by every teacher, so don't do that. When you have the 0 underneath, you're going to write the word undefined. And 0 over 11 is 0. Let's continue. Now, when you divide 705 by 5, and again, brush those times tables up if you want to make sure this is a little easier for you. The number we're dividing by is the dividend, and the number we're dividing by is the divisor. Well, 705, the number we're dividing into, goes on the inside of my long division box, and the number we're dividing by goes on the outside. Excuse me. Now, the way you do it is you ask yourself, does 5 go evenly, or can it divide into 7? Yes. How many times does 5 divide into 7? 1 time. Then you distribute. 1 times 5 is 5, and then you subtract. 7 minus 5 is 2, and then you have to bring another number down, or actually I bring the whole thing down. Okay? Now, does 5 divide into 2? No. So we look at the first two. Okay? Does 5 divide into 20? Yes. 5 divides into 20 4 times. Distribute. 4 times 5 is 20. And we're going to subtract. That's going to be, and again, if there's not a number there, it's like 0. So bring the 5 down. 0 minus 0, 2 minus 2. So I end up with a 5. Will it go one more time? 5 divided into 5 is 1. Distribute. 1 times 5 is 5. Subtract. Now that is a remainder of 0. So this actually divided evenly. And 145 is our quotient. Let's do this next one. If I have 3 being divided into 2,541. Excuse me. Does 3 divide into 2? No. So you're going to pick up another digit. Does 3 divide into 25? Yes. What is the number of times that you can divide 3 into 25? Well, 3 times 7 is 21. Let's see if the 8 will work. 3 times 8 is 24. Yes, so 8's still in the running. How about 9? 3 times 9 is 27. That's too big, so we're going to go ahead and go with 8. And then we distribute. 8 times 3 is 24. Bring it down. Subtract. When I subtract, I'm going to bring down the 1, and then I'm going to bring down the whole rest to the number. And we're going to do it again. Does 3 divide into 1? No. Does 3 divide into 14? Yes. How many times does 3 go into 14? Well, 3 times 4 is 12. Let's see if we can go a little bit bigger. 5. 3 times 5 is 15. Too big, so 4 wins. 4 times 3 is 12. Bring it down, subtract. That guy's just going to come down. 4 minus 2 is 2, and 1 minus 1 is 0. Does 3 divide into 21? Yes, actually, and again, here's where our times tables come into play. If you're really sharp on the times tables, you'll know that 3 times 7 is 21. So I don't even have to try anything. I just know that's going to give me the 21. 7 times 3 is 21. Subtract. And there's our remainder. So here's our quotient. Let's try the next one. Excuse me. We're going to divide 939. Rewrite that a little bit nicer. 939 is being divided by 4. And again, stop the video and try it yourself first and then look at and play the video afterwards. How many times does 4 go into 9? Twice. Distribute. 2 times 4 is 8. Subtract. 1. Bring everything else down. Let's try it again. Does 4 go into 1? No. Does 4 go into 13? Yes. 4 goes into 13. Let's see. 4 times 3 is 12. Put the 3 down. Distribute. 3 times 4 is 12. We're going to subtract. That's going to give me a 1. And the 9 comes down. Let's do it again. How many times does 4 go into 19? Well, 4 times 4 is 16. Let's see if we'll go a little bigger. 4 times 5 would be 20. That's too big, so 4 wins. 4 times 4 is 16, and we subtract. That's going to give us 3. Now that's our last number, and 4 does not go into 3, so we know that this is the remainder. And the way we're going to write remainders is remainder 3. And there's our answer. And let's do one more before another break. We're going to divide 17 into 8, 9, 2, 0. And if we need to, we're going to use our margin to kind of get our products. Help us with those. Excuse me. 17 going into 89. I'm going to have to use my little margin here. I'm thinking it might be 5. So let's try it. 17 times 5 would be 5 times 7 is 35. Carry the 3. 85. I'm going to bet on that guy because I don't think another 17 will go into it. So we're going to do 5 times 17 is 85. Subtract. Bring the rest of the number down. Now, does 17 go into 4? No. Does it go into 42? Yes. How many times does it go into 42? Again, use your margin. I'm looking at, it's not 1 because 17, it's, it's bigger than that. Let's try 17 times 2. That's going to be 34. I'm going to do a little quicker so we don't run out of time. Let's do 17 times 3. 51. Okay, it's got to be this one, right? So I'm going to go 2 times. 2 times 7 is 14. Carry the 1. 2 times 1 is 2 plus 1 more is 3. And subtract. We're going to have to borrow. Let's do it. I'm going to borrow from the 4. It's going to leave behind a 3 and give it to the 2. Makes it 12. Now subtract. 12 minus 4 is 8. And 3 minus 3 is 0. Bring down the rest of the number. And now we have to figure out how many times does 17 go into 80. Well, I'm going to guess maybe it's got to be smaller than 85. Since 5 times 17 is 85, I'm going to go 4. 4 times 7 is 28. And 4 times 1 is 4 plus 2 more is 6. Subtract. We are going to have to borrow again. From the 8, I'm going to borrow at least behind a 7, gives me a 10 there. So 10 minus 8 is 2, and 7 minus 1 is 6. This is our remainder. So we're going to write 524, remainder 12. All right, real quick before we go on to the video, here's the keywords that mean division. Divide, quotient, divided by, divided or shared equally among, and per. I'll see you in the next video. Okay, actually I've got 2 minutes. I think I can finish the last 2. Here is number 25. It says find the quotient of 35 and 8. So we're going to divide 35 by 8. Now, luckily, we know that 8 times 4 is 32, so 4 is in the running, and 8 times 5 is 40, so 5 is too big. We're going to go 4. 4 times 8 is 32, and subtract. That's going to give me 5 minus 2 is 3, and 3 minus 3 is 0. This is my remainder, so the answer would be 4 with a remainder of 3. On this last one, it says 29 cans of paint cost $493. How much was each can? Well, if $493 is what 29 of them cost, if I divide that number by 29, I can figure out how much each can cost. Let's do that. 29 doesn't go into 4, but it will go into 49. And after using my little trick from before, I find out that it only goes into it 1 time. 1 times 29, or 1 times 9 is 9. 1 times 2 is 2. I tried 2, but it's 58. Doesn't work. Subtract. That's 0. That's 2. Bring the last number down. Now, I went ahead and played with it a little bit before I started with you, and I multiplied it by 7. And I found that 63, that is 203. So that's going to be it. 7. 7 times 9 is 63. And 7 times 2 is 14 plus